Hello, dear gentlefolk of the internet, and welcome to another doodle. Or few doodles. Why can't I ever do just a nice and simple video? Why? Why, Tasha? Why do you do this to yourself? Well, it's been a heck of a hot minute since I did a style challenge, and I really love doing them, so what the heck, we'll go ahead and do one. I asked you guys on Twitter and Instagram to give me some styles to try, so here we go. I already hate myself.
And so the event, which would later bone the whole world, the biggest, most atrocious despair-inducing incident in human history, was finally set into motion that afternoon.
First up is the classic, the insanely popular
Danganronpa.
The series about stuff. Yeah, I may get canceled for this, but I have no idea what this game is about and why so many people are just so obsessed with it. It seems like everyone I know is always posting art from this video game. Yeah, I knew it was a game. I didn't Google it while recording. Come on, guys, I'm a professional. Everyone knows about it, so I'm not gonna explain it here. Now, I thought this style would be pretty simple. It seems like just a really basic anime-esque style, right? No! The style for this game is weird. Not like it looks bad, but it's very specific. Now, from what I can tell, it seems like all the girls in this game have same face and, aside from boob size, same body syndrome. Now, before all the Danganronpa stands gather pitchforks and torches, hang on. I'm not saying that's always a bad thing. Same face syndrome is an artist term that's kinda gotten a bit of a bad rap. I mean, I've used it too like this and I'm trying not to, but there's actually a lot of successful projects, games, and animes with same face syndrome. One Piece is still going strong. Shocking, I know. And look at most of the women there. Look at most modern animated Disney movies. Even in my last video I talked about Lord Gris, who is a pretty successful artist in her own right, and I would argue would fall under same face syndrome. This isn't always bad, as it's actually pretty good for establishing a brand and a style. I think the main reason people tend to get so upset is if an artist shows that they don't have the knowledge or skill for other faces, we kinda just want them to grow past it. I think inherently, even if people can be a little bit rude about it, people do want others to improve. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and start bullying people for same face syndrome. Bully them for other things, like a crippling coffee addiction or being really short. Hang on. Who put this in my script? So having to follow this mold was kinda tricky. You'll see for this style I actually have to go and make guides for myself just to make sure I fit in with this really strict format. It doesn't come out perfect, but it really helps, trust me. See, I think people forget tracing is actually a really good tool and is actually used quite a lot in the industry. I think Twitter artists would be very upset if they knew how often professional artists were actually tracing. If you think artists are freehanding all those assets like cars and buildings all the time, I am so sorry to burst your bubble. I went over the face and body pretty roughly just to make a general kind of form for myself. I don't want things to be completely traced, I just want a nice clear reference. When you're trying to learn a form, this can actually really help you break stuff down. You can use this for hands, figures, different body styles, all sorts of things. It's actually a really helpful tool. This is used by professional artists. You can see people like Ross Draws and Ethan Becker are actually pretty open about this. So don't be afraid of tracing to learn things. It's when you don't give credit or admit it that people usually have a problem. Or when people don't understand how these things work, like on Twitter. I think the main reason I was having so much trouble with this style is it goes directly against what I've been trying to teach myself. The faces on the Danganronpa characters, I'm gonna say it right eventually, I believe in myself, seem to sit really low on their face. I know it's not really, but for my style it certainly felt like it. And because I was focused so much on the face, since they're pretty iconic, I'm assuming these are all talk sprites, I'm sure fans will educate me in the comments. I did end up making the head a little bit too large, so I had to adjust that before moving into the line art. Now, I'm pretty sure a fan of this game sensed what I was doing and cursed me, because every minor inconvenience that could happen did. I realized while coloring that I had flipped my light source, and when I was correcting that, I realized I drew my persona flipped too, so I had to correct that. And then my tablet pen died in the middle of recording, so I had to go and take a break to let it charge, which I don't normally do for my videos. I can get really nitpicky with my art, so normally for quicker pieces like this, I try to do it just in one take, or I'll end up spending 8 hours on one pose and hate myself. So I went downstairs to wash my face, and on that break, I realized, after I got all the way back upstairs, that I left my glasses back downstairs. But I had already sat down and started recording again. Could I have just paused the recording and gone back downstairs to retrieve my glasses? Yes, but that's not the point, and now my head hurts from not using my glasses. Long story short, I did my best. May or may not have gotten some alcohol to finish this up, but it's fine. Don't drink and draw, kids. What do you think? It's so weird not doing crazy highlights and shading, and I kinda miss it. I do think I learned a little bit more about proportions in this, but I don't think I'll be returning to this style again.
He called you a cowboy. What did he mean? What are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
Okay, maybe it's just because I already like retro anime styles, or maybe I completely missed the mark here, but I didn't think this one was too hard starting out. The hardest part was just the pose, honestly. Since the last one was really static, and I'm kinda disappointed in myself that I didn't go for one of the crazy poses, I wanted to make up for it here. My main reference was, I think it's a promo poster for the show. With these really dynamic and stretched out poses, each of the characters has a very clear action line, and I wanted to replicate that here. You'll see that I do redline here again just to get a hold of the female anatomy of Cowboy Bebop. Honestly, I think this is one of the first times that I've drawn feet that are actually, kinda decent. No matter how many breakdowns and studies I do, I can never seem to get a hold of feet. Shockingly, the hands are what betrayed me. Except for a few pieces here and there, I've been throwing out some pretty good hands, so I don't know what the hell happened here. Part of the reason I made my persona the way I did was so I would have an easier time with anatomy and posing, since that's somewhere I feel I've always struggled in my work. And apparently, I really have to work on the way her hands articulate. I'll have to go back in and redraw them later, but still. So for the pose, I wanted to replicate the old tripping pose I did in my very first Meet the Artist that I really have to redo that's way back there on my DeviantArt page. It feels like it's been forever since I've drawn that, so I kinda wanted to see just how much I improved since then. It does feel a little stiff, but it definitely feels better than the last pose. Now, shading is always tricky. I feel like 90s anime shading is a little bit like liquid eyeliner. It can sense your fear, so you just gotta go for it. Normally, I draw my persona's skin pretty matte, but I really like how 90s animes do metal, so I wanted to try that here so bad. I don't think I'll be doing shiny skin very often, but it was really fun to try. You'll see during this style, I add in some CMYK noise just to give it a little bit more of that old anime feel. This is what artists like Thuman and David Liu do, just to get that look, and it's a really easy way to add an extra level of detail. I've been doing it quite a lot, I feel like I'm a little addicted, and I am so sorry, but it's such a cool look. It adds a lot with no effort at all. Now what I use is just a layer set from the Clip Asset store, but you can do this really easily by making small tone layers. Just ramp each level up for cyan, magenta, and yellow. You group them together, set them as a soft light. You can use other layer types, but I just feel like soft light has a little bit more of a natural feel to it. Then you just adjust the opacity and bam! You got yourself some retro anime, you're welcome. Now, once I got near the end, I took a step back and I don't think I got this style at all. It's weird, I feel like I did too much and too little. I think this might be because I was following both promotional art and the actual anime. Anyone can tell you these styles can vary quite a lot. It was a good experiment, but I don't think this one turned out as successful as the last one. Unless someone told me, I would not have guessed it was Cowboy Bebop. What do you guys think? Can I fix it? Do you think it's okay? Should I also watch Cowboy Bebop? Because that's on my list.
これ、そこら旅の人。まさかその傘を奪うつもりではあるまいな。
Okay, Do I even need to introduce this one? You guys know it already. This one was a little more tricky. I always get way more nervous when it's a really simplistic style. Since these are way more strict and there's so much less room for error, I just always have a harder time with them. I'm sure you guys can tell, but I was planning on going with the censored middle finger originally. Only problem is to censor it and have it look right when it's censored, I had to draw something that's pretty similar to that. And with YouTube's censorship these days, I didn't feel like it. Maybe it's just me, but I think this style might work a little too well with my persona. Especially considering I am exactly like this, a weird, angry little gremlin. Who keeps putting this in my script? Weirdly, the hand came out okay, like, what? The overly detailed hand is obviously part of the joke, and it came out better than the last ones I did for Cowboy Bebop, but what? Honestly, the trickiest part, other than the anatomy, obviously, or lack thereof, was the line thickness. I realize I could have just used the line tool, but I'm still in the middle of finals when I'm recording this. I don't have the patience for that. I did have to keep adjusting things just because I kept drawing her kind of squished. Like, Popoco is essentially a little oval or square, but as someone coming from the Tim Burton Winx Club era of drawing, this was really weird. I keep looking back at that hand and just shaking my head like, how? How did that one turn out so good and my last one just looked bad? I'm so upset about it. Like, where were you 5 minutes ago, hand drawing ability?
All we have to do is stick a pole in the ground and crawl up to space. How awesome is that? It seems so simple now that I've said it out loud, don't you think?
I think you're ignoring things like physics and, oxygen. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay, this is another one I was super worried about. I really love the aesthetic of this show, and I know how rabid some of the fans for Panty and Stocking can be. Yes, I know it's not all before anyone starts commenting, but I think we can all think of some fandoms with a very loud and very gatekeeping minority. But this one came out good, which I wasn't expecting at all. I firmly expected to absolutely fail and then be ripped apart by the fandom in a matter of minutes, so good job, me! I don't know if it's how obsessed I used to be with the Powerpuff Girls anime that exists for some reason and is still better than any of the modern Powerpuff Girl stuff that exists, or how obsessed I used to be with Bleed Man back in the old DeviantArt days. I haven't seen that stuff in forever. Is he still making stuff? Like, are those comics still going? I'm kind of afraid to go digging back in DeviantArt. It scares me.
I fear no man, but that thing, it scares me.
But I feel like I fell into this style pretty easy. I did notice that I had to keep adjusting things while I was going since, again, this goes exactly against what I'm trying to teach myself about anatomy. Things like head size and leg length. Any of my longtime fans will know I struggled with that. A lot. Legs for days? Boy, try me. You ain't seen nothing. I think the more crucial aspects of the style, like the face and the general proportions, actually came out pretty good. The feet are where I feel it gets a little weak. Panty and Stocking, YouTube, I swear to God, you better not censor this video. It's the name, okay? I swear. Sometimes they have more detailed feet, and sometimes they're just little nubs. So they came out kinda meh. I do think I probably went a little overboard on the shading. Most of the references I had from this show had basically nothing, and I can't help myself. Okay, I really like shading. It was great getting back into varying line weight again, though. I feel like that always can add a lot to a piece. Here's a little cheat I actually used for this one. I don't know if this will work with other programs, but in Clip Studio you can easily adjust your line thickness. So I just duplicate my layer, which is a raster layer, and then I go over it with the Adjust Thickness brush. This is a really easy way to adjust your line thickness without messing up any of the detailing you did. And then you come out with a lot more of a pop, with little to no effort. Remember, you gotta work smarter, not harder. The internet cannot tell the difference. I could have gone and colored the line art here, but I feel like my persona matches Stocking a little bit more, aka the goth girls are sticking together. And she doesn't seem to have any colored line art unlike her sister, so I just went ahead and didn't do it.
Why, that stupid little surrender!
Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Terrible.
Guess who had the theme song stuck in their head the whole time they were drawing this? Why can't Western cartoons get extended intros like animes do? That song hit so hard. I remember it would come on and little Tasha knew it was gonna get serious. Does anyone remember the Body Snatcher episode that happened? I had completely blocked that out until I was looking up references, like, that actually happened. We watched some pretty dark stuff as kids. You guys remember the organ harvest episode in Invader Zim? See, that one didn't bug me as much as the Body Snatcher episode. I don't know why, but none of the stuff in Invader Zim actually, like, bothered me or affected me. Maybe it did. Should I be worried?
Delicious! Delicious! I'm normal!
Again, another really simplistic style that's kinda tripping me up here. I wanted to make sure my persona wasn't just an XJ9 recolor, since I feel like the color scheme and the general design are pretty close. And now I'm wondering if I subconsciously stole Jenny's design for my persona. Am I a thief? Of course, I did steal a lot of people's designs in my last video, but no one saw it, so that doesn't count. You know, you guys can you can go watch my last video if you want to. I mean, that was like weeks of work, and YouTube was like, nah, fam, no thanks. No drama, no tea, no views, my dude. Just the reality of being a content creator on the internet, I suppose. Now, when I was doing this, I wasn't sure if I should color the line art or not. I mean, in some references, it looks like they did, but the goth fashion bully girls that I can't remember their name didn't seem to, so I figured it probably wasn't necessary, since I was going for more of that goth punk look for my persona. Obviously. I did do the legs that Jenny has though. They're so iconic, and they're honestly one of my favorite parts of her entire design, and they really help with establishing this sort of style. For Jenny's reference pages, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's notes on how Jenny should always be just a bunch of continuous shapes, how her silhouette should all just be one long flowing line. So I wanted to make sure I followed that here, with the legs, arms, and hair for sure, obviously. I didn't want to rip off her entire design, so I did swap some details out to more closely resemble her sisters, like the ball joints and the disproportionate arms. A lot of people always tell me they really like when I do more cartoony stylized artwork, but I feel like I still have a lot to learn there, so if you guys have tips for that, let me know. And ta-da! All done! 5 styles all completed, and I kind of feel like I failed at almost all of them. I don't know if I totally nailed any of these styles. I don't feel that they're bad per se, but I don't think it's my best stylized work. I actually debated on whether I should upload this video or not, but I think it's kind of important to be able to see the flaws in your stuff too.
I'm a failure, after all that hard work.
I think too often we see all these amazing pieces and we kind of forget that the bad stuff exists too. Like, that's kind of part of being an artist, you know? You have good days and you have bad days. It's a journey and all of that. Let me know what you guys think, how you guys think I can improve these, and if you guys have any art challenges you think I should try, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'm feeling a little worthy, you know, a little pumped up from my failures, so I'm willing to try anything. Not anything, actually. I take that back. Alright, I'm gonna go back to being a brain-dead lump on the floor after finals, so I'll see you guys as soon as I figure out how to prop myself back up off of the floor. Bye for now.